Right, okay, guys. We got a big one today. We got a big one. So, Kimi ni Todoke has returned after 13 years. That's a big deal. That just doesn't happen every day. Animes don't just return from 13 years gone, especially not shoujo or romance ones. We might see it with a really, really popular shonen anime, but those are always first draft. So this anime for the shoujo world is a really popular one. It's very well known. It's based on a manga by Karuho Shina, and it's animated by Project IG. Now, the third season here has been picked up by Netflix. I don't know who they were releasing it through, probably just one of the Japanese broadcasting networks. I'm not too familiar with all those, but I know Netflix has picked up this third one. So one of the reasons I actually found this is because I have the memory of a goldfish. And that's a major debuff, but sometimes I can use it to my advantage, like replaying video games, rewatching TV shows, rereading books, because give me like a year and a half of not seeing anything on them, I'll completely forget. And Kimi ni Todoke is one of those. I've rewatched it probably like twice back in the day, but I was going for another one because I remember I really liked this show. I went to go rewatch. I did the first two seasons, and then by the time season 2 was ending, I was getting ready to find a place in the manga where I can start up there and just keep reading, and then another episode started. I was like, oh, well, awesome. It's one of those shows, it's just very wholesome. It's a really good watch, and same with the manga. Back in the day, I was caught up on the manga of this one. It kind of goes into, like I was saying with my bad memory, I have a tendency that if I miss a chapter, especially I think one like this might have been maybe like a once a month chapter release thing. If I miss a couple chapters, I try to go back and read it. I've forgotten most of what's going on, and I have to restart the whole show. And sometimes I don't feel like doing that. So that's one of the bad parts about my goldfish memory. But still, I remembered I had really fond feelings about this show. Now, I didn't have memories because, again, I have a bad memory, but my feelings for the show were very strong. I remember a couple key moments, and I remember just really loving it, really having a good time. Just kind of a feel-good show. Now, I'm going to get to this third season, this new season, because I have watched it. I did watch it all. In fact, I already went and started the manga where it left off. I actually just reread the manga entirely in prep for this to see how well the manga kept to the show, because it's not like I remember that stuff, and it's very good. It's like panel to panel. The show does great. Like Project IG, especially for the time when those first two seasons came out, they did amazing at keeping this close to the source material. So the show follows Sawako Kurenuma. Sorry if I'm bad at these Japanese pronunciations. I do what I can. And she's been outcasted and bullied pretty much her entire life by everyone short of her family. And then comes in our main lead, Shoto Kazahaya. He is the first guy, or the first person really, to just treat her normal, treat her like a person. He was really nice to her, and through that, they started to form a relationship, a friendship, and she started to open up more. She started to talk to other classmates. And eventually, Kazahaya and Kurenuma started to form a little bit of a romantic relationship, further down the line, though. All right, so let's start with season 1 here. This one is the OG. It's the GOAT. It's a great season. What we're really focused on in this season is showing Sawako come into her own, get used to building relationships with people and overcoming, years of being outcasted and bullied. A lot of this is her finding a way to open back up, to trust that people actually care about her, so she can build stronger relationships with like Chizuru, Ayane, again, sorry if I'm saying these wrong, her friends that she made along the way, as well as Kazahaya. And again, I'm not trying to get too big into the nitty-gritty details of these things. I'm just kind of giving a real overview. I'll let you watch the show for yourself to get more of that. But I will say, I just want to reiterate this. Project IG did so good this season with making sure they never strayed away from the manga. I think the only thing I could really attest to all that is that the pacing is a bit slow. The pacing is pretty slow. It covered about just a little over one chapter per episode. These are 24-minute episodes, and they're like 44-page chapters. So I guess it's all right, but that does take a little stretching, in my opinion, especially certain moments that are just like one panel, and you stretch it into maybe like a 30-second scene of just sparkles in the background or inner monologue, maybe dragging on a little too long. Now, I completely understand the reason they probably did this with the first season is because they did not want to have to go away from the source material, and they couldn't exactly just catch up to the manga. So they probably were stretching it a little, taking it slow. Now, moving on to season 2 here. This season, I think, probably pissed more people off. This is a really good one too, in my opinion, but this one deep dives into a different aspect about Sawako, more so than just opening up. This one shows her low self-esteem completely at work. Throughout this whole entire second season here, you have Sawako just not saying what she wants to say, not sticking up for the things she wants, being very afraid about people wanting her to even be around. And it's a great show of a lack of self-confidence, especially one caused by years of being outcasted. And I think that might be a really big reason people get kind of pissed off about this, is because it's a little infuriating to watch because it's pretty real. It's not super over dramatic like a lot of them are, where people are just, they just have self-hate and they're just like, I hate myself. It's a very realistic look at how a lot of people with these low self-esteem, it's not even that they just hate themselves, is that they actually don't feel like people are okay with them being around. And like, it's not coming from any self-hate from her. She actually seems pretty okay with herself in a way. It's more coming from being outcasted so long. She doesn't even feel comfortable talking to people without thinking like, do they really want me talking right now? I'm not annoying anyone. And that's kind of the vibe you get from her the whole show. You get her just not speaking up, not doing the things that she wants. And I mean, at certain points, yes, it is pretty aggravating. It's like, just do it. The show is entirely self-aware of this too. We have a lot of side characters getting infuriated by the situation too, and just kind of sticking their hands in the cookie jar here, really trying to get involved in, making things actually happen. I will say though, they picked up the pacing a little bit more in this one. Again, it is still slow. It's not the fastest, but they do about 1.5 chapters per 24-minute episode in this one. So it's a little faster than the last one. The last one was just a little over 1 chapter per episode. This one is, getting closer to 2 chapters per episode. It's at 1.5. Now we're on the main event. This is a big one. Season 3, the new season, the reason we're all here. I have to say, this is my personal opinion, but I think it's also an objective fact. This was the best season so far. This season was amazing. Now, this season is a little different. It was put into 5 different hour-long episodes. I compiled the whole entire runtime of all these episodes and divided them by 24. And that brought us to about 14 24-minute episodes, just so we can accurately compare it to the other two as far as chapters per episode and stuff. And that really ties us into part of what makes this season great. And it's that the pacing was phenomenal, especially compared to the last 2 seasons. This one, once we did all the math, it's running at about 2 chapters per 24 minutes. So if that was the 24-minute episodes, we'd be looking at about 2 chapters per episode, which is almost twice as much as season 1. It really cuts down on those slow, dramatic shots, the elongated thoughts, the big, sparkly, dramatic bubbles behind people, that kind of stuff. And that really grounds the show too, because I don't know about you guys, but that shit gets a little goofy. Like, it really does. It kind of pulls you out of the show here and there, because you feel just the slightest bit of cringe, especially in shoujo shows, when that kind of stuff happens, when they're like doing the woo voice and like this type of shit. Like, when that happens, I take a big step back. I remember what I'm watching. But they didn't do that in this season. And that's part of the pacing. So I guess essentially what I'm saying is better pacing just cuts the cringe. It just slices that cringe right out of it. Now, one thing I really got to throw out here about the season is that Kara Hoshina, the author of the manga, she did an amazing job with side characters. The side character development in this season was phenomenal. I felt a lot of emotions out of these side character backstories. A lot of these shoujo shows and romance shows in general, they tend to have the side character development based around the main character, and their development circles around the main character to kind of keep it in the main plot. But this one says nope. This one just completely pulls in their own issues, their own struggles, entirely separate from anything going on with Kazuhaya or Kuronuma. Now, occasionally they can be tied into it, but for the most part, it's completely separate from them. They're completely separate issues, completely separate romances. The most like Kuronuma or Kazuhaya could do for any of these side characters, like Ryu, Chizuru, Ayane, is just kind of be there for them, but it's able to take the story to a place where they're the main focus for a bit, and it does so well that you almost don't want it to go back. You want it to keep on this side story. It's really amazing writing as far as shoujo goes, especially with this kind of stuff. But on that topic, when you get a little more into this backstory, there is no way Ryu is not on the spectrum. Like, he's gotta be. A lot of people say Kuronuma is. Like, I see a lot of people in the community constantly saying Kuronuma is probably on the spectrum. But I think she's just, I think that's just a product of the outcasting. Back to our main leads, though, back to that. Those were very good stories, too. This one was more centric around Kazuhaya's problems, his inability to open up due to him wanting to maintain a certain appearance about himself, that it kind of stems from him living up to expectations of a strict household and of everyone perceiving him a certain way, especially Kuronuma, who he's really afraid of her seeing him in a worse light or her seeing him in a bad light at all. So it's kind of like season 2 again, where there's this lack of communication between them, but instead of it being on Kuronuma's side, it's a lot more on Kazuhaya's side. And it did get a little frustrating, much like Kuronuma's did, but not in the same way, since the pacing was better. I think that really helped with that frustration, and it also cut away from that story here and there to focus on the side character stories, which gave you a little relief from the constant tension of bad communication. And I'm very happy to be the one to report this to you all. It followed the manga up until the very last second of that episode. It did an amazing job. Project IG has done great with all of this. I don't know if it's been greenlit for another season, but with it following the manga to the end, I think there's a very strong chance we're getting another season or another half to this season, whichever route they're going with this. And if that's the case, they are very close to finishing out this series, which is something else that would be amazing. A lot of big romance and shoujo shows do not ever finish out the manga story. It's very rare you see that happen, even for some of the biggest titles. Half the time, I think they just give it like one 13-episode season, and it's mostly just to drive more manga sales than it is for anything else. This is a category that manga is a lot more prevalent in than anime is. Like with an action show, it makes sense that there's more people wanting animes of it. But with these shows, I think a lot of people are just as happy to read the manga as they are to see the anime. An anime would be cool, yes, but when it comes to any type of slice of life or romance show, I think the manga is plenty fine for tons of people. And now that I finished the 3rd season, I have gone from the very beginning and just reread the manga. I haven't finished it yet, but I have gotten to about maybe a good 10 chapters after season 3 ended, and it's good. I'll be very happy to see this animated if they do, because the story, it just gets better. I'm actually kind of sad I dropped this all those years ago. I wish I would have kept up with it, but I think the month-to-month thing, I probably just, something happened after a bit. I did go through like 2 years where I wasn't watching or reading any manga or any anime. It was just like after high school, I was really busy, all that. But what do you guys think? Have you seen it? Do you like the season? Have you not seen it and you're interested? If not, you should watch it. It's good. It is good. I was just very excited about this. I really wanted to share my thoughts about it. I really hope they do a part 2 to season 3, or just jump straight to a season 4, maybe finish out the show. If you guys loved this season, you didn't love it, let me know in the comments below. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. All the things that help me with algorithm stuff. Thank you guys a ton, and I will see you in the next video.